is a Bulldog Radio podcast.
The Ferris State Bulldogs have upset the nation's #2 ranked team. Wide open! Taylor is going to take this one to the house! Touchdown Bulldogs!
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Most Valuable Sports Podcast. Brandon Worth, Joe Nagy, bringing you the heat as always. Another banger of an episode on deck here today. Full Ferris State rundown, of course, as well as a big game coming up this weekend. It's Super Bowl Sunday, y'all. Eagles, Chiefs, will break it down, make our picks and more. Let's talk a little Super Bowl commercials as well. Very interesting topic that we got on hand here for this afternoon. But first, we brought a special guest on the interview table today. Joe, who do we got?
We got Dylan Ryder, sports writer and opinions editor for the Ferris State Torch, one of our good buddies. We've known him for a good amount of time, and he's been a guy who's been around Ferris athletics for quite some time as well. So without further ado, Brandon, let's swing it to the interview.
Now joining us in studio, Ferris State Torch sports writer Dylan Ryder stopped by the show. Dylan, welcome to the show, man.
Hello. Thank you for having me, boys.
Dylan, thanks for coming on. First question for you. You're the hockey beat writer. You're the opinions editor for the Torch. I mean, just walk us through what that journey was like to be able to get to the point you are at right now with the Torch and sports writing.
Well, interesting story. I think we established on our Torch podcast last year, never really was into sports much. Don't really have a sports background like, Brandon Worth or Jeffrey tearing like 38
ACLs.
Yeah. So that was a surprise to you boys when I was talking about that. I always liked writing. And then sometime in high school, I was like, you know what? I like sports now. And this is my personality now.
This will become the personality for the rest of my life.
No, for real. I watched one YouTube video and the dude made sports funny. So I was like, I like this now. But coming here in 2021, I was taking a journalism class because I think it was part of the sports comm major. There was something in there. Then I heard about the Torch and I joined the Torch shortly after. Shout out to Brendan Sanders for giving me a job, even though I didn't have a resume.
Just a word of mouth type thing. You're just like, yeah, I can do this.
Yeah, essentially I pulled up with nothing, no resume, no portfolio. He was like, I'm going to take a shot on you. But after that, joined sports for Brody since I was interested in that. Started off with golf, which I have a love-hate relationship with golf. Mm-hmm. And then started covering hockey. And at that point, I knew I really liked hockey. That season wasted a lot of money because I ended up buying the season tickets and then went to every game for free anyways because I worked for the Torch.
So at $100 and some down the drain with that one.
It was like $60-$50.
It really is. $60-$50 for the.
It was the student deal.
Oh yeah,
and that's
at least you got a little bit of a deal.
That was cruel, Brandon.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. Not gonna lie, it felt appropriate.
But getting there, it's changed a lot for me. Have changed how I write things, how I look at things, how I talk to people. When it comes to hockey, it's kind of on cruise control for me right now. But what we, covering hockey, it's different because, now I know these players. Mm-hmm. I'm not just the guy who hangs out at the rink anymore. I'm not just the rink rat, that's always bothering people. It's, I see Jason Branshaw. I'll be like, hi. I was talking to Blake Avenel yesterday because we had our media session.
Good friend on the show. Yep.
He's a talker.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I know
he's a really good talker.
That's why we had him sit in the chair next to us, man. Yeah.
I'd talk to him and give some of the guys guff. Logan Stein, know him too. Talked to Brad Merrick before. I've talked to nearly everyone on the team, in a weird bragging way, but I know these people now and I can kind of get that inside look on covering hockey now. Like I hear hockey rumors all the time from around the team. I'm able to, be more privy to information that I maybe shouldn't be as a journalist. But it's been this weird journey of, I started with golf and hockey and writing about that and then changing how I write things and how I cover things and hitting the points that mattered, then rather just doing a recap. It's been such a privilege, really, you know, talking to Brian Garlock, who's with the Tampa Bay Lightning, and talking with Derek Lalonde, who's now the head coach of the Red Wings back when he was with Tampa. So it's weird that that's where that's led me. I've talked to Pat Nagel, who was in the Olympics. Was it a year ago now? 2 years ago?
Sounds about right.
Like a year
close,
ago.
yeah.
So it's these weird connections, working through the torch and being around athletics and just knowing the people there that has led me to this just kind of culmination of where I'm at now. And I'm extremely grateful for it.
Yeah. And then I know you talked a little bit, some of the things that you've enjoyed, but what specifically has drawn you into the love of writing for sport and being a sports journalist?
I think it's fun. I think it's the best type of thing to write. I think it beats out, you know, reporting about like an event for news or a lifestyles event. It's the most interesting thing to talk about. It's what people will be reading. Eyes are on sports, for the most part, eyes are on sports.
Yeah. That's where the money is too.
There's so much there. There's so many, you know, it's lesser with college and lesser with my writing. There's so many, you know, plot lines that you can follow that you can't really follow in just a news story. Like when I'm writing hockey, you know, who's going to transfer at the end of the year? Who are we getting in the early signing period? Who are we signing over the summer? Who are these kids? How are they going to perform? I feel like that has what's kept me going. Being able to write hockey opinions and sports opinions too, and then being able to live rent free in people's heads. That's what keeps me going too.
Yeah.
But it's just being able to combine passions of, you know, I used to be a stellar writer in like third grade. Didn't really write much in high school. So getting back to that and kind of combining that passion of writing and then just writing about what I like to write about, I think that's just genuinely the best thing you can do. And finding that beat or that niche that you know and you can write about passionately, and you know it's something you care about. You're not doing something you don't care about. I feel like that's what keeps me in it, and that's what keeps drawing me back to it every time.
Yeah, for sure. And one of your articles about the student section at the hockey kind of brought up a couple of good reactions from some people. I mean, you were talking about how somebody really just looked out for your Facebook and then sent you a DM saying, "Hey, trash article."
Yeah.
You mind just walking us through what that was like, being able to, you know, get one of the bad reactions out of somebody who read the article?
You know, you boys have attended stack meetings, so you know what it's like to, you know, kind of be on the end, pull short stick, and maybe not have written the best article.
Sure.
That article in particular that you're talking about, Joe, was written in like 2 hours because I screwed up my section and I needed an opinion. So was it the best article I've ever written? No. Was it fun knowing that what it had brought eventually? Absolutely. And I will stand by it. Being in something like that, like being at the stack meetings, you're kind of prepared for it. I mean, it's an opinion piece. Anyone can rip it apart. Anyone can tell me it's terrible. That's fine. But when it comes down to this particular guy who decided to look me up on Facebook and tell me how bad my article was, he made good points, right?
Yeah.
I maybe missed something there where maybe the student section is lazy, but that wasn't. I wasn't saying this is the best student section in the United States of America, right? I'm saying they're getting better.
Mm-hmm.
I've been to hockey for the past not 2 years, maybe nearly 2 years.
About 2 years.
Year and a half. And I've seen how abysmal our student sections are. I've seen how abysmal they are in just general, but at hockey, it makes me sad. So I think he kind of missed the point that I was just trying to say that they're getting better. But
I think you were just way too focused on how much because Harrison was talking about that. He was saying how that guy came went here when our student sections were great.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, it's not going to be that good, but it's not going to be as good as the olden days. But.
No, I mean, you got to think of that in the way that COVID decimated pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a gap in years between 2020 and then maybe early 2021 where we had no fans, which in turn ushers in these people who aren't a part of this hockey culture or this student section culture at Ferris. And you can see it in every sport. And I think it's just now getting better and it will continue to be better. Part of me thinks that, with what athletics has for hockey, it's limited.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't the best seats in the world, but
yeah, they could. I feel like student section could be in a better spot.
Oh yeah, or just a better barn.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
St. Thomas getting $44
million. St. Thomas coming in. Huge
but
one.
I guess it's good to get like criticism like that, even though it's a little weird that they're gonna reach out to me specifically on Facebook and try to DM me and say that was terrible. That's their right. I like it. It kind of it's something to laugh about ultimately. Thanks for the feedback, but why?
Thanks for the feedback, but I really don't care.
Yeah. Yes and no. I mean,
you take what you take what you can learn from it, and then the rest of the garbage, you're like, yeah, the opinions have an I in it. They don't have a you. Like, this is my thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, one last question here for you, Dylan. What's been your favorite thing about being here at Ferris State and being a Bulldog?
Oh God, I don't know, man. That's a loaded question. There's a lot. I love being able to actually have a stake in events here with what we do in the RSO and be a part of the paper and just kind of being able to reach a broader audience than just what a regular student would, which they really don't have a broader audience or an audience period to reach out to. So being able to, I guess, be a part and be known on campus with what we do and what our groups do, I think that's probably one of the best parts and the opportunities that I've had here at Ferris. I can't say I would have gotten these experiences and opportunities anywhere else. Not these exact experiences, and that's for sure. That's probably one of my favorite parts.
Thanks again, Dylan, for coming on the show. I know you're a little bit pressed for time with classes, which we could talk to a little bit more, but thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate you.
Big thanks to Dylan Ryder for jumping on the pod. Appreciate having him along, as well as if you know anybody else out there that wants to sit in a chair across from me and Joe with a microphone and a headset. More than happy to have you. Make sure you follow us, message us at the MBSP, and we will make it happen for you.
We will.
As much as we can.
It will.
Yeah, we got a lot of big stuff going down, and we got stuff moving around and schedules moving around here with our whole partnership ordealio. But we'll make sure it tries to happen. I'm sure we'll make it happen for you guys.
We will.
It'll be fun.
Do it.
We'll try.
We'll make it happen.
We're going to try to make it happen.
You guys got to reach out to us first, though. Like, we ain't going to do that.
That's true. We got a lot of scheduling
it's on you to get.
do.
It's on you to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then it's on us to get the ball to stay rolling.
Yeah.
And at one point to stop.
Yeah.
But it's on you to start up.
Right. We'll hit a home run. You just got to, we'll set up the pitching machine, but you got to put the ball in there and then we'll get it rolling. You know?
Absolutely, we will.
I think it'll work. But anyway, Ferris State rundown here, Joe.
Yeah.
Starting on the ice, it's certainly one of the biggest games of the year. Home ice up for grabs against Bemidji State. The Beavers right now sitting in fourth in the CCHA standings here, Joe. We're right behind in fifth. This is a team that we had a really good weekend matchup with here earlier on this season that I believe led to a split. And it feels like after this last weekend, it is full steam ahead, hungry. Let's get revenge right now in front of this crowd because it is time to go and the time is now.
Yeah, dogs are rolling, man. I mean, especially off these past couple of games, we've been able to steal a few that not a lot of people thought we were going to be able to get, especially against Bowling Green. I mean, they didn't get any against Minnesota State, but you really can't knock the boys because they played really well despite the scores being kind of one-sided there. But especially getting a big win against Michigan Tech and getting that split too. You look at where we're going to be at for this game, and it's a must-win for both of these because if you don't, you can kind of kiss the home ice goodbye. However, Bemidji right now is fallen a little bit from where they were at the start of the year. They were near the top, kind of ranked in the top 20, flirting with getting into those 19, 18, 17 spot overall in the country. But as time has gone on, they've slowed down a little bit with their abilities. However, they're coming off a weekend where they really want to get this too. I mean, it's a spot where only 1 point separates them here. They lost both times to Michigan Tech, so they didn't get anything there. They're going to be coming in and really going to want to have an upset. We split with them last time. It's going to be interesting. I know Noah played really well last time we were there. I know Noah and Logan both played really well when we were Eagle-Glaben. I've been here for 4 years. I don't even know what the word is.
However you pronounce it.
However you pronounce our ice arena. Both our goaltenders play really well. And I think the rink is going to be rocking too, which is going to be for sure.
The rink is going to be rocking, and Coach Daniels alluded that into his media session, which we'll get to you here in just a second. But I think the biggest thing when it comes down to it, I mean, you look at the stat sheets, you look at the previous matchup. Bemidji is a team that definitely can play a little streaky almost to us. And I think the biggest thing for Bemidji is they're not necessarily the most stout defensive team that we've seen opposed to a lot of these other really good teams like Michigan Tech, Minnesota State that are just lethal defensively. But one thing they do is they take care of the puck really well. They don't give out penalties very often. They're actually best in the CCHA with least amount of penalties per game, which we actually have the second highest. But I mean, when it comes to overall shot percentage and a lot of these other offensive categories, we're right there with them, if not better. And I think that's a huge boost going into this weekend. And I think right now, if we can string together some good opportunities, I think we're going to be in really good shape for this matchup. And I think really with the crowd being a huge factor, I think that really the whole coaching staff, the whole team, they're ready to go. Coach Daniels is ready to go, as he alluded to in this week's press conference.
Yeah, well, it was great last weekend. It was rock, and it had quite a bit of atmosphere. It was electric in that rink, and that was both nights, start to finish. And I would assume we'd have the exact same thing here. I fully expect that we're going to have good crowds, and they'll be into it. We've got the Red Out on Saturday. I guess it's Red Out all weekend, but Saturday in particular for Women's Heart Health, which is an awesome cause. So I expect, from what I understand, big crowds and boisterous as well.
There you have it. Coach Daniels is ready to go, so you better be ready to go. 6:07 on Saturday, 7:07 on Friday night for hockey, and with home ice up for grabs in the playoffs.
Can't wait for it, man. I'm excited to work it. I know we're excited, especially with our hand in Red Out. It's going to be an incredible day, and we can't wait for it. But before hockey gets going, we got basketball for this weekend as well. Men's and women's, we're going to be taking on Saginaw Valley State and Wayne State. Wayne State first on Thursday, Saginaw Valley on Saturday. Men's are going to be playing at 7:30. Women will be playing right before that tonight for us. And then Saturday, it's going to be a 3 and 1 o'clock tip-off. Same thing, men's go second, women go first. So Wayne State here for both men's and women's, they're kind of middle of the table, I'm pretty sure. They're a team that can still really do some damage if you're not careful enough. But still, you're going to really try to come off, especially for the men's, you're going to want to come off a loss to Parkside. You are kind of back onto it. We're 7-1 or 8-1 in the past 9 games. So we got the momentum going, but especially when you get a loss against a team that, you're really trying to edge out for that top spot, it's tough. But getting back on track is going to be the name of the game.
Yeah, I think definitely after we had that little skid up north and falling to Lake State, we've definitely got it back on track. Parkside, I think, was just a bad game. You throw that one out. You didn't play our best basketball. Parkside could not miss in the second half. It happens, right? That's basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when you look at it, I think there's a lot of things that you can see in this upcoming matchup. I mean, Wayne State isn't necessarily as high-powered of an offensive team as we are, especially shooting the rock. We're number 1 in the GLIAC. They're number 10. So it's opposite ends of the spectrum. So what are you going to do if you're Wayne State? Well, you're going to try to do everything you can to make sure that you wreak havoc on us playing offensively and try to at least slow the game down so you get enough of those opportunities to try to net yourself a good spot offensively. So I would expect them to throw a lot of different defenses at you potentially. I mean, we saw the earlier matchup this year when these two teams played, and it was certainly one of those kind of games where you were like a little bit on your seat at parts of the game where it kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start, but we ended up getting the job done in handy fashion there. But I think that the way that we can play, and I can't stress this enough when we look at it, I mean, as far as while we play, if we can out-rebound teams, we can take care of the basketball, we're going to be in such great shape. And it's really just like non-comparable. I mean, the last time we played this team, we out-rebounded them by 20. That gives you that many extra chances to put the ball in the hole. And you can't, not every team can do that. And that's the biggest thing is you got all the explosive shooting we have. You have the good post play. You have the athletic playmaking ability defensively. So if you just take care of the ball and get more possessions, I mean, who can beat you at this point? Like this team is ready to go. And I think that we're going to be in great shape. And you look at kind of Saginaw in a little bit of contrast. They're a much better team when it comes to not necessarily as being defensive minded. They can score it a little bit. They're not terrible shooting the basketball. So I think it's going to be very interesting when you see how these two teams try to attack our defense, because I think our 3-point shooting hasn't been as great as of late. And I know Saginaw has definitely been on one of those kind of runs where you look at how well they've played over the last couple of games. And even though they've lost the last two, they've shown a little bit of glimpses here and there. But traveling up north to face Northern and Michigan Tech, that's a tough task. But overall, the way that they've played over the last couple of games, they gave us a run when we were back there just a little while ago. So I think this will be a very interesting matchup. And I think you're going to see a lot more pace potentially in the Saginaw game as opposed to low scoring. And that's kind of similar with the women's, but it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said with Saginaw, they're a little bit better with the 3-point shooting. So it's going to be a little bit higher, I feel like there. I think you're going to see, especially with this Wayne State game tonight for us, it's like you really just have to play the game well because they're going to be more of a team that's pushing it down, ground and pound, really get by the boards and get by the glass and kind of slow the game down a little bit, because for us, our game is so fast. It's, kind of a lot of transition. If you set it up, you want to get threes. You don't want to be forced to take a shot with a shot clock. You want to be in control the whole time. And for both of these teams, Saginaw and Wayne, they're teams that, want to disrupt it a little bit. We're playing really solid. Wayne State's on a 5-game losing streak. Our Saginaw's on a 2-game. They went up north, like you said, Brandon, struggled against Northern and Michigan Tech, but you're going to have two teams who are hungry to kind of get back on track, get on a little bit of a run before GLIAC start up for the playoffs. So this one's going to be an interesting one. I think we're going to be able to pull out 2 W's for the men's side, but it's still going to be 2 where you really got to stay true to the game you want to play.
Yeah, and with the women's too, I think especially we saw the dynamic play that we saw from Saginaw Valley, especially with Zericki and DePerry. They're one of the best in the country as far as duos are concerned, scoring the basketball. But I mean, especially with them, I think you're just going to have to try to slow down the tempo. They're going to try to play fast. They're going to try to fill it in bunches against you. Wayne State's going to do the opposite. They're going to try to slow it down as much as they can and try to play a really low-scoring basketball game. So it's going to be a little contradictory, but I think we stay true to the course. We win those 50-50 balls, get out in transition. That's when this team gets really good, I think is a key for the women's game. So those games on Thursday and Saturday, as mentioned, as well as track and field, going to be at Grand Valley for the big meet coming up. I mean, we're going to be facing some D1 competition, and that's super exciting to me, especially, and I think really when it comes to everybody getting that first true meet double day, that's the biggest thing because that's what GLIAC is going to be. It's a back-to-back day where you're going to be doing 2 events back-to-back days. So that's really kind of where we're going from here, because we've had a lot of one-day meets. We've had a lot of different kind of low-caliber meets, and now this is the first big one as we go into the rest of the stretch. And as well, tennis is still getting their feet underneath of them after a couple of first games, got a win as well as a loss each way. And they're going to be taking on some good regional competition to start the season, because Coach Doran's not afraid to take on those tough teams early, and they've certainly showed the success over the last couple campaigns, and we look forward to seeing that depth continue to succeed in here to this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one's going to be one where you're looking at a spot where you kind of want to get on a little bit of, not of a run, I would say, because you're still at the start of the season, but you don't want to have a spot right where before GLIAC start up where you're going to be, struggling and behind the 8 ball already. So this one's going to be one where I'm pretty excited to see what we're able to do, especially with last year. You had everybody kind of set in stone about who the partners were, where you were at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now with Matisse being gone, you have Jan moving up, you have Yannick Mader as well, kind of getting into a new spot. So everybody has different partners now for doubles, which is kind of the one that you really have to win off the start, getting that extra point and getting that momentum right out of the gate of the match. And then you want to have a spot where you're kind of getting a little bit more comfortable, especially with who you're playing. You're going to be stepping up against different opponents. You're going to be stepping against better opponents, especially from last year. So I'm really excited to see what this team can do, especially coming off the loss against Indianapolis. I think we're going to be playing pretty good against Hillsdale. We have historically, so we'll see how that goes.
Anyway, to finish up the show here, one last quick minute here. Super Bowl commercials, Joe. We're picking our best and worst of recent memory. You want honors?
Sure.
Go for it.
Budweiser puppy and horse commercial.
Yes.
That one had everybody crying. I don't know how you can do that in such a short amount of time with a commercial, but dude, that one, I was tearing up right on the sofa.
That's a great pick. I'm going to take an underrated pick.
What's that?
Crypto commercial from last year.
Oh,
remember
like the
QR
bouncing?
DVD screen? I think that one was great. And the reason because is it got everybody engaged. Yeah. And everybody remembers that commercial
the site
forever.
Crash? The site crashed.
Yeah, because it was so good. I think that's got to be a great Super Bowl commercial if it was that popular.
It's so solid. All right, bad ones?
Bad ones, yes.
Puppy Monkey Baby. That one
Oh,
sucked.
yes. I can't stand that one.
So buns.
It was bad.
Some might say, hey, it's a good thing that since you remember it, but dude, it's so bad.
Yeah. The one that sticks out to me is really bad. I don't know if you remember this one.
What's that?
The Mr. Peanuts funeral one.
That was so Kool-Aid. Good.
I did not like that one at all.
Dude, what?
I thought that one was bad.
That one was solid. That one was funny.
I don't know how.
And it was Mr. Peanut Baby.
But it was Baby Yoda.
Trending.
It didn't make any sense.
For so long.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, I guess
you might
so.
have dropped the ball.
I don't think I liked that one. But anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's Super Bowl Sunday coming up, everybody, and what a weekend that is going to be.
Woo.
It's one of the best weekends in sports, man. It rivals almost everything. It's one of my favorite sporting events to watch, especially with these two teams going down. It's the Chiefs versus the Eagles. It's the Brothers Super Bowl. Huge implications. Philadelphia is trying to get it going for their crazy fan base. KC is trying to get the dynasty back up and running after a few little bit of hiccups from their hiatus here and that type of stuff. But Brandon, I'm excited, man. I think the Eagles are going to be able to take this one away. But dude, I don't know what's going to happen. This one's going to be this Super Bowl is one of the ones that I don't really know who's going to be a clear-cut winner.
This is going to be a fun game. I think this might actually turn into a high-scoring game because it looks like
it's a shootout.
I think because it's going to be such a defensive battle on paper. And that's crazy because we're talking about the Chiefs and defense, you don't say those two in unison very often. But I think when it comes down
Somebody's
to
gotta
it,
take that button away.
Come on, it's fun. I hope everyone enjoys that. Or if they get annoyed, you can message us at the NSP and let me know. But I think it definitely comes down to when you look at both of these teams and you look at how they've played, they've put up a lot of yards this year in different ways. Obviously, the Chiefs looking to sling it. And of course, the Eagles are looking to pound it. But I think when you look at the comparison of these two teams, I think it's really, honestly, the Chiefs have a really good chance to win this game. They've been there pretty recently. They've been in that position before. Obviously, the Eagles won the Super Bowl, but it's a little bit different of a team than it was as opposed to the Chiefs roster on the Super Bowl team. But I mean, you can make that argument too both ways. So it's really, both teams know what it takes to get to the Super Bowl. They've made it. And now when you look at all the players around it, some of them are on the same team still. Some of them, they're obviously on a new team and they haven't been to that Super Bowl, obviously, when the Chiefs won it a couple years back and the Eagles won it when they took down the Pats. But I think when I look at this game in and of itself, I think it's really going to be what defense has the ability to take away the football. And I think that's what's going to win this game. And right now, the Eagles defense looked very well against the 49ers. Yes, I know. It was Brock Purdy, and they were playing 10v11. I know. But I think when you look at the way that this defense has played all season, I think it makes a really interesting matchup. The Chiefs have won this matchup. I did the research here to find out for you. The Chiefs have won every matchup since 2013. They're 3-0 against the Eagles. But the Eagles before then were 3-0 in the 2000s era. So really, this is a matchup since we hit the year 2000 is 3 apiece. So really, it's a tiebreaker with the biggest trophy on the line as a prize. So I think it's going to be a fun game. I think that the turnover battle is going to be where this game is won because the Chiefs obviously like to take risks. The Eagles love to take away risks. But I think when you look at this offensive firepower between these two quarterbacks, I mean, this is going to be a real fun matchup, I think. And I think we say that every year because obviously some of the Super Bowls haven't quite panned out as expected. Rams, Pats. But I think it's still going to be a really fun game on paper. And obviously it's Kelsey Bowl. I mean, media off the charts this week for those two.
Wow, dude. A lot of clips, especially from the media days and stuff, kind of pretty funny to watch, especially with Mama Kelsey and stuff like that. Talking.
Yes.
Even their podcast that they have, they had their dad and their mom. It was pretty cool to see it. And I don't know, it's interesting to see that. But also another cool story for this Super Bowl is the story with A.J. Brown and Willie Gay Jr. Have you seen that one?
I have not seen that one, no.
So obviously Brown is on the Eagles and then Gay Jr. is on the Chiefs. And he's their linebacker.
Yeah.
They grew up 5 minutes from each other.
Really?
Yeah. Played in the same high school, won a state championship, and then both went to Mississippi high school or colleges.
Really?
Yeah,
So they've been pretty much best friends their whole lives, and now
Yeah.
they get to play each other in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's wild.
Wow.
Crazy
I didn't
stories.
even read about that. That's cool.
Yeah, it almost makes up for the fact that Brittany, Mahomes, and Jackson are going to be there. So that's great for us.
Oh my gosh,
I'm
Joe.
praying that the Eagles win, because if I have to watch that circulate around, a video of her screaming into her phones, then that circulates around, I might just become a mountain man and try to just go off grid so I don't have to see that ever again.
I would also hope that doesn't happen regardless of who wins, because that is a little, I mean, it's understood the act of
How-
celebration, but like it's
how-
almost obnoxious.
How
way
tone
she
deaf
does
does
it.
she have to be? Because she obviously has seen the reactions, hasn't she?
I would have to assume she
Like,
has.
there's
She probably
impo-
doesn't care.
Which is the even crazier thing. You're basically married to the most famous guy in all of Kansas City. Well, it is. He owns every sports team, basically. He's a part owner. So, like, you're known by everybody, and you realize, like, nobody likes you. Nobody in the fan base likes you. I hope she realizes that, because she needs to get a change up quick, fast. And I thought we were going to be all solid because we never heard anything out the rest of the season. And then finally, like, last 2 weeks, she's resurfaced. And it's been even worse from before. So,
Yeah, I think the media access has really taken the world by storm over especially the last 10 years, since we've had social media and we've had all of these influencers kind of introduced into the world of the sports
I can't
industry.
stand influencer culture, dude.
But it is kind of like, I'm not going to try to dock on influencer culture or anything, but it's tiring. Like, it's mentally
is.
tiring. And I think that's what everybody hates. It's not the person. I don't think it's
I think
really
it's just the culture, really.
It's really everything around it that makes it that much worse. But anyway, besides that point of view, I mean, we do have a good football game that is going to be taking
I was gonna
place.
say, I could have ranted on about that for the whole rest of the episode.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to bring that
Maybe just a solid hour of just how much we don't like
up
influencers.
and know about influencers. But I think when you look at the road that the Eagles have taken, obviously beating the Giants, a team they're very familiar with in division play, and then taking out the Niners, who were injury ridden. Some people are saying that this is a gifted road here for the Eagles, which, I mean, obviously when you look at it in that perspective, yeah, they could have been in a situation where they had to have played the healthy 49ers, or they had to play a really good team in the Cowboys potentially. But I think when you look at the AFC and the NFC, I mean, it's just hard to get past the bind that the AFC is loaded. I mean, it really is, because you look at the Chiefs where they've went. First round bye, then they get the Bengals, and they got the Jaguars in the second round. Those are two really tough teams. Now, it kind of looks similar to me as opposed to the Eagles run, but the Bengals were a much better team, I think, comparison than the Niners without Brock Purdy playing absolute baller. So I think that kind of puts you into perspective. But I mean, having the Miami Dolphins as your 7th seed as opposed to the Seattle Seahawks, that comparison straight up.
Yeah, like,
I mean, they're both teams with the same record, but it's not the same team.
yeah, I was gonna say, if you put seed to seed up against each other, like, the AFC would probably wipe. Other than Kansas City and Philadelphia, I feel like those two are probably like the only ones that, like, I feel like Philadelphia could win, because if you take New York versus Baltimore, 6 seeds, I'm taking Baltimore.
Ooh, I would actually take in the Giants, but that's just
Yeah.
me. Well, this is the thing. When you look at these teams,
Comparatively, the NFC sucks compared to the AFC.
yeah, when you look at these teams healthy, especially the AFC, a healthy Ravens team, you would bet on over a healthy Giants team. Now, the Giants team's more gritty, but when you have Lamar Jackson, you have J.K. Dobbins in that running game, it looks elite. Like, that offense is hard to stop, and that defense will shut you down.
Because you had 3, it's just on the AFC side, you had 3 or 4 Super Bowl favorites compared to the one on the NFC side.
Bengals, Bills, Chiefs, 100%. And on the other side, it's the Eagles and the Niners.
And Niners still, like, they were kind of starting to pick it up a little bit, but then once they only beat Dallas 19-12, I was like, yeah, they're not winning.
Yeah.
Even if Purdy was healthy, that would not have been a close game.
Yeah. And then obviously the Vikings are the most fraudulent 3 seed we've seen in a couple of years. So
Yeah.
I think when you look at these two teams, they have pretty similar roads. But I think when you look at how this
They're
game's
both
going to
16-3 overall.
Yeah, so everything is accurate there. And the reason I think when you look at these two teams and you see the comparison, especially in the offenses, I think you're going to see a pretty much of it. It looks like it's going to be a slower game.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be, because you're looking at the Eagles. They're going to be vamping the secondary. They're prepared to watch Mahomes try to sling it 50 times because that's the best way the Chiefs know how to win. And you look at the Chiefs defense. They're going to be trying to load the box, and they're going to try to stop Jalen Hurts from running, and that's going to keep them more one-dimensional and a much beatable team. Now, if obviously defenses execute, it's going to be a slower game. But that leads me almost into the counterintuitiveness of this is going to be a track meet. And I think when you've looked at the last time these teams have played each other, I mean, the scores have been 27-20, 26-16, and 34, I believe it was 14. And I think when you look at that perspective, I mean, I wouldn't expect necessarily a 50-50 type game, but this is a game that feels like it should be at least in the 20-20s, if not the 30-30 type of range, because it's just one of those games that they're two good offenses, elite offenses, some of the best in the entire National Football League, and they're going to figure out how to dissect the defenses. I think that's for sure. I think it's really going to come down to that turnover game, because if you can turn it over and you can turn it into points, I mean, momentum-wise, absolutely through the roof.
It's game over.
Both of these teams, I would say the Eagles know how to do it better, and that's why I think maybe I'm leaning towards the Eagles as my pick as of right now. But I mean, as far as you look at perception, I mean, this is the Chiefs' game to lose, 100%.
Yeah. I think so too. The favorites right now are definitely Kansas City. I'm hoping Philly wins, but if anything, like if I'm really thinking with my brain here, it's probably going to be Kansas City like 35-30 or something like that. It'll probably or it might even come down to a field goal at the end. And Butker will just go wild and hit like a 45, 50-yard field goal to win the whole thing.
Winner.
I'm hoping that Philly wins. I think if anything, what I think is Kansas City's going to come out hot, and then Philly's going to try to play catch up. They're going to go ahead at near the end, probably all of fourth quarter, probably a touchdown. And then Kansas City's going to tie it up near the end. And then somehow there's going to be a turnover that Philly does. And then Kansas City's going to march down, and then Butker's going to win it for all the marbles.
Ooh, okay. Do you
mark that down.
You're going to mark that down. Okay.
I think as much as I don't want it to happen, I think Kansas City's probably going to win 33-30.
33-30, the final. I'm going to go with one of the two teams playing in the Super Bowl. No, I'm just kidding. I think when it comes down to it, I have a buddy at my house. Anybody knows him on the show. It's Ethan Hamilton, who was on the show a little while back. Big Eagles fan. Just grew up in the Eagles. And to see him so happy over the last couple of weeks for how well the Eagles have played makes me want to root for the Eagles so bad. In that sense, I feel like the Chiefs have a good chance to win this game, but I'm going to ride with him here. I'll play contrarian and pick the Eagles. And I think it's coming down to this thought just keeps punching back in my head 3 times. I'm saying this. I feel like the Eagles have a better chance and a better defense when it comes down to how this game is going to be decided. Are they going to be able to take the ball away? And are they going to be able to score off of it? And when you look at that statistically, they're one of the better teams doing that. Mm-hmm. And especially over the last couple of games, they've held a lot of these high scoring offenses to very little points. Mm-hmm. And I think that keeps coming back to me as, man, I'm going to try to ride with the Chiefs on this one, because in the postseason, they've only allowed 14 points and they turn teams over a lot. And to me, that sounds real cool. And I think that's going to be a really good chance. How they've already forced 6 turnovers in the postseason, and the Chiefs have a tendency to give the ball up a couple of times. So that's why I'm going to pick the Eagles. I'm going to pick 27-24. I'm going to go 27-24 the final. Eagles win it on a field goal. No, not necessarily at the buzzer, but I think they're going to hold on by 3, and I think they're going to prevent Mahomes and company from a second Super Bowl.
All we know is this game is probably going to be one of the better Super Bowls we've seen in a good amount of time.
We hope so. Knock on wood.
I feel like.
Yeah, I hope so.
Hopefully it's not like a 3-10 or whatever.
Please, no, don't remind me.
What was it? Was that last year? It was 3-10?
No, that was last year's game. Was pretty much the Rams dismantling.
Oh yeah, just going
Bengals
wild
when they were just going pretty much bonkers. But the worst Super Bowl in recent memory was hands down the Rams Patriots. That was a rough go at it.
Poop.
Yeah, that was Tom's last one, and it was one of the worst games I'd ever watched. I know me and my buddies were down. I know we were talking about this last week of Super Bowl parties. We had turned off the game at one point and played Madden. It was that bad.
I believe it, dude.
Because it was bad. It was so bad. The game was stale. It was stagnant. It was a defensive slugfest, but it wasn't even exciting in that sense. Teams weren't turning each other over. It was just constantly missed pass, broken up, third down, punted away. Next team
3
does
and
the
out,
same
3
thing.
and out, 3 and out. All
Just
of them in the red zone.
Can we just hit the snooze button, please? Like, this is a bad football game.
Which then begs the question, like, how much do you want it to be like a high scoring with no defense compared to like a defensive showcase?
That is true. That is true.
So you gotta find that happy medium, but then it's also like, it's the biggest game of the year. Like, that's the thing. Like, Bears can't be choosers, I guess. You either have a defensive powerhouse playing against a defensive powerhouse, or like now where you have two crazy good offenses.
Yeah. The Super Bowl that we're talking about, 2019, I just looked it up to double check the score. It was actually 13-3. The final score was for Mercedes-Benz back
only
in
one
53.
touchdown was scored, I think, right?
Yeah, it was pretty gross. So I think when you look back at it, I mean, the Rams Cincinnati game was fun. I take back what I said about
it wasn't like crazy one side.
No. It wasn't really dismantling. I was more thinking of one of the regular season games that they had, where maybe it was the Bengals that tore up the Rams in regular season. I'll double check that, but no, the Rams Cincinnati Super Bowl was great, and I think that Cooper Kupp catch to seal it was really freaking cool. The Tampa Bay KC Super Bowl, I mean, that one you kind of saw coming with the storyline of that. It was like, yeah, Tom's gonna take this one. Like, are you going to bet against Tom? He's getting towards retirement. You're not going to make that bet. That defense was elite and they showed it. They turned Pat Mahomes a couple times. And before that was the year that we really saw Patrick Mahomes get on the map when they won at Hard Rock in 2020 against San Fran. But I think it's still a really good Super Bowl. One of the best Super Bowls that I could think of in recent memory, and I think they were really kind of both of them back to back, was the 51-52 back in 17-18.
Oh yeah,
so you had New England do the 28-3 against Atlanta, Matt Ryan with like 3 minutes left in the third quarter, and then the next year was Philly in Minneapolis when Nick Foles came back to beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. Even though Tom threw for 500 yards and the Eagles had ran all year with Carson Wentz, they ended up winning it with Nick Foles. And I was at 41-33? Yeah, the score was. That was an electric factory of a game. It was back and forth, and that Philly play will be probably going down into the Hall of Fame from Doug Peterson.
Well, because wasn't that also one where the Patriots tried to do a Philly and then Tom Brady hit his hands and just popped right
No,
out?
that was the year before that, actually. Yeah. That's the irony. That was the year when they were playing against Atlanta. When I'm pretty sure, because you know how many memes were on at halftime of him dropping the Lombardi, and then he ends up winning it after the comeback 23. And oh my gosh, what a time to be alive that was. But I mean, there were some other ones in recent memory. I remember Super Bowl 50 more because of the hangout more than it was actual game. I mean, Denver and Carolina was a well anticipated Super Bowl. That was a fun Super Bowl to watch for a little bit, and then it got a little stale when Denver just absolutely shut down Cam Newton and that elite offense. But I mean, the year before that was probably the one that most notable to me was New England, Seattle, Malcolm Butler at the goal line.
Giving it to Marshawn.
Yeah, because I know I had my buddy Steven was with me and we were watching the game. And basically down to the last couple of minutes, we had I was rooting for the Seahawks. I was a Russell Wilson fan when I was growing up. I really liked the way he played as a kid. And so I was rooting for Seattle, the Legion of Boom, and he was rooting for the Patriots exclusively because I was rooting for the Seahawks. And it wasn't like, it was just one of those like, yeah, I'm going to root against you. We're going to make this fun. I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. And yeah, and that whole final like minute was just absolutely bonkers in my basement. Absolutely bonkers of just me screaming after Curse caught that juggling catch. Yeah, let's go. I'm running around in the basement like stoked out of my mind. They're about to win the Super Bowl. And then like, what was it? The next play or 2 plays later, Malcolm Butler jumps the route. Oh my gosh, against Ricardo Lockett and picks it off for the game winner. And I was so sad. And then Steven had his turn of running around the basement. I'm just sitting there crying with my hands and my eyes and my face. And I'm just like,
poor Brandon.
No. But that one was pretty gross. And I'm pretty sure that it was worse because we didn't have school the next day. They'd already canceled off the school, I think at that point, and which had only happened one other time, which that was probably my favorite Super Bowl I remember watching as a kid. And that was back in 2009. If you remember Santonio Holmes, the tiptoe catch against Arizona. That was my favorite because that one, that was a fantastic football game. It was absolutely fantastic. And the whole way that game went down, I mean, James Harrison, the interception, that was by far my favorite game. I remember specifically we had a snow day, so I could watch that whole entire game. And really, I think there was one Super Bowl that was on my birthday. I remember back in, 2011? And it was in Arlington. It was Green Bay against Pittsburgh. Everyone was picking Pittsburgh, including me. And then Green Bay won. And I was like, pretty sad. But end of the day,
So sad.
there's been a lot of good Super Bowls in recent memory, and I hope we have another good one this year. Hopefully some good commercials, which we talked about here earlier. But I think there's going to be, I think the overall environment, I think with Rihanna doing the halftime will be cool. And I think hopefully nothing gets too exorbitant. But I think when it comes down to how that whole Super Bowl is going to take place, I think that really it's kind of interesting that we have it in Glendale every year, especially for like, you'd almost want to wonder why it's not necessarily in a place with more football prominence, which I understand it goes up for bid, and I obviously understand that. But I mean, like Glendale is put in there like quite a bit, like they had the 2008 Super Bowl when the undefeated Patriots lost to the Giants and Eli Manning. Then they had that the year of the interception at the goal line by Malcolm Butler, which was 2015. And now they're having another one here. But you almost wonder, like, Hard Rock doesn't get as many games, even though, like, they used to be, like, one of the more prominent ones. There hasn't been one in Ford Field in a long time. But it's very kind of interesting, the fact that it's kind of always stayed in, like, Arizona, Miami, Atlanta's had a couple of them.
It hasn't moved around as much as it used to.
Yeah, like, I love the idea of having it in New Orleans. Like, I think that would be fantastic.
I would like it where if it was just like a whole, like, rotation of everybody.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool. I mean, obviously,
I guess some would not can like some of the stadiums are bad.
Yeah, I
want to go in some of them, but
yeah, like I think it would be nicer if they were more rotation. I know obviously the money is part of it, but I think the reason why they don't have it in New Orleans is because they want to keep the lights on. But I think when it comes down to it, I think that Super Bowl would be fun. I mean, the Horror Bowl was cool. I thought that was great. I want to see another Super Bowl like the Horror Bowl. And that's I think what everybody wants with the Kelsey brothers going against each other. And I think it's a great storyline and I think it'll be cool. So I think this will be a really fun go at it. And I mean, it'll just be very interesting here. So I'm picking the Eagles. Joe's picking the Chiefs. We'll see how it goes on about here coming up on Sundays. Our go-to food that you're going with, Joe, obviously chili.
for me,
Yeah. You're going with chili, right?
absolutely not.
What?
We literally said I don't like chili.
That's a bad take.
That's not even a hot take. That's a cold take. I feel like more people agree with me that I don't like chili than people actually like chili.
Okay, we might have to make a poll for this. I think, okay, you would probably say, I almost want to bet you're going to do this, that my Mr. Peanut commercial take is as bad as the chili take. Vice versa.
My take is way better than that. 'Cause
What?
Everybody liked Mr. Baby Peanut. You know how much that was trending?
No. Okay, it was trending
If you were to
because
if you were
it
to go
was
up
a
on the
bad
street,
plot.
if you were to go up on the street and say, "Hey, what do you don't like more, chili or the Mr. Peanut commercial from the Super Bowl a few years ago?" People would say chili.
More people have had and loved chili than probably have seen the commercial.
I doubt it.
I don't know. We might have to fight. We might have to fight this one over.
We might have to.
I don't know.
Might be, Brandon. I don't know, man.
I don't know. I know we talked about this in the first half, but what makes a good Super Bowl commercial?
I'd say it's got to be like engaging and not stupid,
Okay.
which is a pretty broad thing, but I feel like it's easy to figure out.
Yeah.
Just not the puppy monkey baby one.
That was a lot going on, which I thought that was the same concept of why I picked Mr. Peanut one. There's a lot going on.
But it's easy, like, it's not like annoyingly a lot of things going on. The puppy monkey baby thing had so much stuff going on where you're just like, dude, I hate this. And it was also just not, it was a catchy song, but it was not catchy for the right reasons. It was catchy because everybody hated it.
Right. But I don't know.
Debate me all you want. I will die on this hill.
We'll die on our own hills, I guess. So if I'll eat my chili while you watch Mr. Peanut commercial.
I guess so.
Yeah.
I guess that'll have to happen.
I guess so. We'll have to figure this out. We need a vote. We need a vote. Let's go on to Spotify polls and we'll see what we need to do here. If it's chili or Mr. Peanut Super Bowl commercial. I'm excited though to see some of the commercials they have coming out this year. Like I've heard a couple of them are going to be pretty solid. But I think there's going to be, I know like there's a couple that have already been like leaked out of like, yeah, these ones are going to be bad. And I mean, I'll be very curious. I think there was one that I saw. I want to remember that was, wasn't it a clothing brand? what one was that? I think it was, I know there's one with General Motors and Will Ferrell. I think that one's going to be interesting. But oh my gosh, what was the one? There's Bud Light and Miles Teller. I don't know if you saw
that one's going to be good.
Yeah, him and his wife in there. I think that one will be very interesting because you get to see like a little piece of it. I don't remember which one it was. I almost want to say it was a clothing brand, but I can't remember which one it was now. Anyway, whatever it is. But I think there will be a couple of good commercials here. Once you see like a couple of them, I know Uber Eats is having one with, I think Diddy is in it. They're doing one with him. Ben Affleck is doing one. I think with, what is this? Pepsi, or no, not Pepsi. Dunkin' is doing, and then Steve Martin and Ben Stiller are doing a Pepsi commercial. I don't know how they got that duo together, but that's going to be pretty funny. Apparently they're arguing about who's the best actor. Don't know. That'll be fun. I think there'll be a lot of good commercials. Hopefully some better than the Mr. Peanut commercial. Oh, that's all I can say.
I guess we'll see. We will see.
Yeah. I don't think that's a terrible commercial, by the way.
It's not like my favorite or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a good commercial.
I thought like if you put it on the scale of good to bad, I think it leans over halfway on the bad side. And then there was one of the first ones that came to my mind. I'm not really going back on my take here that it's not.
I respect it, man. I respect it.
I think it's not a great commercial, but I'm not going to say it's like the worst commercial. I mean, the honest first one was Puppy Monkey Baby that came to mind, but I had to pick another one. So, but I think that one might go down as one of the worst. I'm pretty sure Gronk and Deion Sanders are also in one. So be very interesting. But anyway, enjoy the Super Bowl, y'all. And if you watch this episode or listen to this episode before, we thank you for tuning in. Thanks for Dylan Ryder for stopping by on the show. Pleasure to have him along the ride as well, as we get more scheduled interviews and a lot of great content coming up here for the rest of the year. But until next time,
take care, everybody.